Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Oh, it feels so good to say this. Game over, Toronto fans. Welcome to Game Over Toronto after a Game 1, Round 1 win against the Ottawa Senators. Thank you for being here. If you could hit like and subscribe right before we get going, we would really appreciate it. My name is Lauren Williamson. If it's your first time here, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. On the other side of the screen here, we have Zach Payne, and we are going to be breaking down tonight's big 6-2 win to kick off the Battle of Ontario playoffs. We're going to break down the game. We're going to talk about what went well, what didn't, and we're going to obviously take your questions down at the end. But to start off, Zach, just initial deep breath in and out. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm amped. I don't know about you. I don't know about everyone in chat. The last 24 hours have been brutal leading up to this game. I was just, like, the anticipation was fuming in me. I've just been waiting and waiting for the puck drop. And thankfully, the Leafs deliver a big Game 1 performance. Was it perfect? No. But is any game ever really perfect? Of course not. So, overall, very weird game because the score obviously got out of hand, which impacted how the third period went, score effects and all that. So overall, I'm very happy, very content. Also know that Game 2 is going to be a lot closer, but there were a lot of encouraging things to take away from this game. And also, it's only the third time in the Matthews era that the Leafs have won Game 1, which is a crime, but it's so nice to start the series off on the right foot.
Yeah, like, so important to get off and not just win the game, but win in a high-scoring way, right? The last couple of years, the Leafs have really struggled to produce offense. I mean, obviously, it's still Game 1. There's lots of playoffs left, but it's really, really, really encouraging to see the Leafs play that well to not give up the lead, right? It got to 4-1, and I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me that went, nope, we don't go there. We don't watch that channel anymore. We don't watch the channel.
Well, and, like, look, when that Ridley Greig goal went in, and we're going to get into the game recap in just a second, I think everyone had that little moment of anxiety, and then the Leafs get one right back, and then it was smooth sailing from there. So just a very complete, like, this was peak Craig Berube hockey.
Yeah.
So I know people, like, I see Terry talking about the Leafs need to clear up the defensive zone, all that. We'll talk about what the Leafs need to do. But overall, this was the way the Leafs want to play games. They pack the middle of the ice. They allow a ton of junk. Have some things to clean up in front of the net with the rebounds, and that goes on the goalie as well. But, like, the third period was just perfect. Actually, most of the game was just perfect Craig Berube hockey. The first period, honestly, even though the shots were lopsided, yeah, like, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we're gonna break the game down right to start off the show. Can we talk about the fact that in the first 30 seconds, it was the loudest Go Leafs Go chant that I have heard in that arena in I don't know how long to start a game? Like, and the whole lower bowl was just a sea of blue. Like, there were so many jerseys at that game tonight, man.
I forget who tweeted this out, but I saw someone post like, what happened to all the suits? Like, this atmosphere is electric. And, man, it was a great environment. I was a little, like, I've been watching the other playoff games, and I was like, you know what? Like, I know it's the playoffs, but I feel like it doesn't feel quite like the playoffs. That building was ready for the puck to drop. That was playoff hockey from the crowd the second the puck dropped, which also, actually, speaking of which, we have to talk about this. The damn referee that dropped the puck to open this game pump faked like 5 times before the game started. Matthews and Stützle swung at that thing like 4 or 5 times before the ref finally dropped the puck.
Yeah.
That was outrageous. But the crowd was ready. That both teams were ready, honestly. There was so much hitting early on. Really loved the physicality from both sides. I loved Nick Robertson laying some big hits early. Like, it was so fun, just the opening few minutes.
Oh, I totally agree. My first 3 notes: Battle of Ontario, first time since 2004. Go Leafs Go chant loud at the start. Lots of blue in the bottom bowl. Domi big hit. Crowd is in it. Big hit on every shift from basically every player. Poppy gets the first Leaf shot on the goal 5 minutes in. Like, it was obviously it would have been nice for the Leafs to get a couple shots earlier, but they went out and they were making their presence feel known. They were, as soon as an Ottawa player had the puck, they were on them like white on rice. And it was just it was nice to see. And beautiful. I think that's the kind of physicality we were all hoping that the Leafs were going to bring. normally the Leafs are on the receiving end of that, right? Like the first game against Florida before was like, oh my God, it was so brutal. Same with Boston last year. Every single time that the Leafs were on the ice to start the game, it was just battering ram after battering ram, and it was nice to see the Leafs on the giving end of that.
Well, remember last year, the problem was also that the Leafs, they were fine to engage physically, but they kept taking stupid penalties.
Yeah.
It was the other way around this year. Like, they kept getting Ottawa to just take some stupid calls. It was a very immature game from Ottawa is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Where you can't even blame them. They just
just
haven't been
got
around
there.
the block. They don't. Yeah, like they're gonna settle into this series and they will get away with stuff. But first game they were just a little too amped up, and you saw that reflected in the penalties. Obviously, it was a little excessive the way the penalties were going, and I'm scared about how few calls we're gonna get the rest of the series. But it was just the Leafs finally played a game where they were engaged physically, and their physicality, like their true physicality and the true weapon they have, was their ability to make you pay for your penalties.
Yeah, and that again is something that in the last couple of playoff runs, the Leafs haven't been able to do. Whether they've gone into the playoffs with a good power play or not, once the power play, showed up in the playoffs, it wasn't good enough. And this year for them to start the way that they did was great. So getting back to it, because I know that we're just so excited to talk about it.
I do have a stat when we talk about that when we get there, but let's start. So right away, it was an unlikely source goal to kick it off, right? It's the
just
third
like we all
line is
predicted.
how they were used. The Lawton, Lorentz, Yarncrook line, that is the de facto third line. It's interchangeable depending on situation. With the third pairing out, and Lauren, do you remember we had a conversation after one of these regular season games towards the end of the season, and we said we needed someone. We need one of two players to step up, Morgan Rielly or Oliver Ekman-Larsson. We need offense from one of those two. What happened to open this game? It was OEL. It was the veteran defenseman getting in. He opens the scoring, and oh man, when that goal went in, the roof came off. The pop in that arena was amazing. Like, what did you see on that goal?
Well, it was just a really nice play from Scott Lawton to get the whole thing going. I mean, Yarncrook essentially gains the zone. Lawton gets the puck, slows everything down like it's on a slow motion replay, and passes it up to Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who essentially takes one stride and then wrist shots it right over the pad. I'm happy to say that we did say a couple of games ago that one of those two players needed to step up, and he was only the first one of that pair to do so. A really nice goal. Just a really nice goal, right? Like exactly the kind of opportunity you need to take advantage of. Scott Lawton, like we've said to finish the regular season, was really starting to amp up how well he was playing, and for him to get the primary assist on that is like, he must have just been buzzing. And that line tonight was just unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Wicked, dude. It was so awesome.
It was so good.
And then a few minutes later, so I have to... Sam Stone in the chat. I hate you. But Mitch Marner said, you are a Chicago Blackhawk. Relax. Relax. But we've been talking about, hey, Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. I respect the hell out of Jake Sanderson. I talked him up at the end of the Game 82 stream. They didn't play against the Pinto line. They were against Stützle most of the night. But we said, Matthews and Marner, you have to elevate your games. And oh my Lord, have you seen, like, when's the last time you saw a pass like that from Austin Matthews? I know he's an underrated playmaker, but wicked stretch pass. Mitch Marner on the breakaway. Just beautiful. Beautiful. No notes. No notes. Beautiful.
Yeah. And just an unbelievable play, right? Like, I see Matthews strips the puck and does this pass out, and I was like, who the hell is he passing to? Because I was like, we're not on the PK, like, why are you clearing the puck? And Mitch is essentially at center ice and is just absolutely streaking towards the zone, bing, bang, boom. Just a wonderful, wonderful goal. And hey, we know that he is this good early in the playoffs. I'm happy to see I'm happy to see he's off to a strong start. Let's hope that trend continues. I mean, 2 goals on 4 shots to start the game 1 of the first round. It's pretty good.
I can't confirm this because I'm too lazy to go check. I'm pretty sure that's the first time that Mitch Marner has had a breakaway in the playoffs since Game 1, 2019 against Boston, where he got tripped, got a penalty shot, and also scored a huge goal. So,
Yeah.
Marner, I mean, all of the big four. Absolutely amazing start to this playoff. So now, first period, almost get out of it with a 2-0 lead. Then we get one little blip in the radar, little blip
With
in the
3:42 to go in the first period.
Brandon Carlo can't clear.
Yep.
Is what it is.
Stoley makes the initial stop, isn't able to control the rebound, and Batherson buries it.
Riley loses a battle.
Right place, right time. They're a playoff team too.
Look, it's just
it's gonna happen.
Bad rebound control. We talked about this is Stolar's weakness, right? Like he has to be able to control rebounds. The 2 goals tonight.
For the most part, he's been good.
But the rebounds tonight were way too juicy, and the defense
in the first
also
period,
wasn't
yes.
All game, honestly. But the defense it became a problem when the defense didn't win their battles following up those rebounds, right? So Riley loses a battle, Batherson pokes it home. The one later in the game, Leafs lose battles in front, and they right. So the rebounds are a part of Stolar's game.
Sure.
He's always going to have that. He just can't really catch with his glove for some reason, which is weird. And the pads, his pads just fire the puck off of them. You got to be able to clean up the garbage in front. That is going to be the 5-on-5 test for the defense.
Yep.
For the most part, good. Stolar's also had some big saves later in the game, so I'm not going to get too mad at him. But that was the one blip.
Yeah. Well, and, so they go into the first intermission. Shots are 13-5. It was quite tilted on the one side. But before we went live, you were talking about you had some advanced stats that showed that the underlying numbers were actually better than they were looking.
So, yeah. And look, this is also the eye test, right? I don't know about you. After that first period, I was not phased by the shot clock. I thought that was a very good period from the Leafs, and the advanced stats back it up. So through 20 minutes, the shots on goal were, what were they, 13-4, 12-4?
Something like that.
Shot attempts, 23-18 in favor of Ottawa, to be expected, but a lot closer than the shots on goal. Scoring chances, dead even, 7-7.
Wow.
High danger chances, 4-1 in favor of the Leafs. The only high danger chance the Sens got was the Batherson goal. Expected goals for the Leafs controlled 57.34% of the expected goals, and the score was 2-1 Leafs. And I said on Bluesky, that was peak Berube hockey. Allow more shots, but you control the quality. That is the way the Leafs want to play. They want to suck the Senators into just throwing on garbage from the outside. There's also, if you looked at Money Puck at the intermission, or I think Dom Luszczyszyn tweeted this out as well, the picture of where the shot locations were in the first period are hilarious because all of the Leafs shots are in the slot at the net, and the Senators, they had one at the net, and it's all just scattered
exterior.
At the point. Absolute garbage,
Yeah, and it to go into the first intermission up 2-1, feeling pretty good. Yep. Obviously, a little bit of shoring up in terms of defense and rebound control, but a good way to start. And then the second period starts. The second line gets a really good chance. Anthony Stolarz makes a very good stop on Brady Tkachuk, and then he makes a really good save on Shane Pinto as well.
Can we please acknowledge Morgan Riley, buddy? Woo!
Yeah.
So Morgan Riley attempts a spinorama pass at the blue line and gives Brady Tkachuk a breakaway at the end of a shift, mind you. I did not like Morgan Riley's game tonight. I know he scored, but oh my lord, I texted some buddies. I was like, playoff OEL is saving me from the fact that Morgan Riley still makes me want to claw my eyes out.
Yeah. But Anthony Stolarz coming up big, especially to start the second period. And then Timmy Stützle does a boarding penalty with a really bad hit on Tanev, and John Tavares does what John Tavares does, scoring in playoff games. 5 seconds into the first power play for the Maple Leafs. A wonderful way to kick off what was a sputtering power play to go into the playoffs. For them to score 5 seconds in, it's pretty good. Now, we're going to talk about the things that went well in a later period, but big moment. It was essentially a deflected shot, and then he buried his own rebound. He deflected a shot,
and the off the face-off became a theme.
Yep.
And look, like you said, like we talked about, hey, they're generating chances, but they haven't buried. Wow, what a way to put those fears to bed. Like instantly off the face-off. First time the 5 forward unit's been in the playoffs, and I mean, No notes again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ridley Gregg gets a really bad hit on JT 6 minutes in. There's a cross check on JT's neck. And then they originally call it like a 5-minute major to review it. Ends up just being a 2-minute. With 14 minutes left and Adam Gaudette doubles up. The Leafs get a 5-on-3. And William Nylander manages to bring the score to 4-on-1. To 4-1. And
looks off Matthews on that play too.
Yes, he does. And again, another play, face-off when he comes from the far side of the face-off circle, skates into the middle. Poppy has his stick to the rafters, and he just doesn't even look at the net. Just bing, bang, boom. And boy, does he love to score playoff goals, doesn't he?
Aura on that one.
And then, of course, following that up, he ends up taking a hooking penalty with Cousins. They managed to eat the entire thing. It's killed off. The Leafs are just playing really well in the second period. And then Tkachuk takes another penalty to finish off the second period with 12.6 to go. Lawton gets, he draws the roughing penalty, sorry.
So yeah, this was a weird sequence. So Tkachuk and Lawton got offsetting, but there was another penalty to who was it? I'll pull it up 1 second. There was in the second period. It was that's the third period. Hold on. It was on Drake Batherson for tripping. So this was on Calle Yarncroke. This is a controversial one. Not gonna lie, Yarncroke was going down before Batherson got to him, and based on the calls that were happening in this game, because the Leafs won, and it happened in favor of the Leafs, I'm allowed to say this. That was a soft call. And that is a call that if it happened to the Leafs, I would have been mad. So
sure,
I'm fully and in general, the Leafs got good penalty luck tonight. I'm very willing to accept and say that the penalties and the refs did not impact the outcome of the game. The Leafs would have won regardless, but worth noting, they did get the favor of the refs tonight.
They did. And it will be interesting to see if those same calls are still made 4 games from now.
Probably not.
As always. Consistent as cottage cheese. And then, going into the second intermission, it was 4-1. The shots were a little bit closer, but not by much. And they obviously start off the third period with 1 minute and 47 seconds on the power play to start. They can't get anything done. It gets all killed off. There's Ridley Gregg brings the Ottawa Senators back to life a little bit, scoring the 4-2 goal on a delayed penalty for the Leafs 4 minutes in. They end up just burying their own rebound. And quickly, 45 seconds after that attempted comeback by Ridley Gregg, who else but Morgan Rielly, putting the Leafs up again, 5-2. It was really nice to see them bounce back like that.
Thank you, Matthew Highmore, for the deflection on that Rielly goal. But look, you have your scoring bottom 6 line. The 4th line for tonight is what it was. We should mention they changed the lines halfway through this game.
Yes.
It started out as Domi, Tavares, Nylander, and then Holmberg, Robertson, and McMahon. And then that was horrifying halfway through the game. So they changed it going into the third. Reunite McMahon, Domi, Robertson. Holmberg goes up to line 2. I imagine they'll keep playing with that middle 6 because it was not good 5-on-5. Like the Nylander and Tavares, they both score in this game. They had bad games 5-on-5 though. So good change by Berube. Good mid-game adjustment despite having the lead. I'm glad that he wasn't afraid to make a change while winning the game. And look, you have the scoring line out for a defensive zone draw, and 10 seconds later, it's in the other team's net. What more could you ask for?
Yeah. 100%. And that's, the fact of the matter is they do make that change, but 2 players on that line end up scoring. Right? Yep. So it is a little bit, it's still puzzling that we still have no solution for that left wing position on the second line.
Bobby McMahon.
When he wants to. And then, of course, OEL gets a shot from the point. Nyes block. There's a Nyes block there where he kind of goes down. It looks like it hits at the inside of his knee or his hand. The Drake Batherson penalty, they end up scoring again, making the actual Leafs score 6-2 on the Drake Batherson cross-check. 13:05 in, and again, 8 seconds into the power play. Just not even getting the Sens an opportunity to clear the zone, just scoring right off the faceoff. Knies essentially buries a rebound, 3 power play goals in the game. It was just, you can't ask for anything more than that. There was another high stick just a couple minutes after that. That gets cleared off. Timmy Stützle ends up drawing a penalty by OEL. That gets killed off. And then to finish the game, it's just scrum. But there's multiple lines on both teams that are essentially don't finish the game on the ice. And even though essentially the last 5 seconds of the game was just a scrum in front of the Sens bench, the refs don't call it. They essentially just let the clock run out, and the Leafs go on to win 6-2 at home, taking a nice lead in the series. It is only one game, and obviously it's still very early, but a very good showing by the boys in blue.
Yep, and look, I do want to mention that last penalty to Batherson. OEL did go down a little easy. Also, great play by Matthews off that to keep it alive, to get it in front to Knies. Matthews, funny enough, the only person on that top power play to not score a goal in this game was Austin Matthews. Not that he didn't try. He had his looks, and he had 2 apples in this game as well. I don't remember the last time all 4 members of the core 4 had multi-point nights in the playoffs. Probably hasn't happened. That's probably the real answer. But I mean, just outstanding. Even though you had some 5-on-5 warts with the middle 6, you get goals. You get a goal from the bottom 6. You almost get another one. We didn't even mention that. Calle Jarnkrok hit the post like 2 minutes after that OEL chance. So oh man, I'm super excited for the Lorentz, Lawton, Jarnkrok line. You can figure out the middle 6. I can't imagine Domi will play that bad every game. I can't imagine Nylander and Tavares get skunked 5-on-5 and get tilted that aggressively. So there's a lot of reasons for optimism, man.
Yeah, I do want to say, because I know that there are probably some Ottawa fans that are going to watch this. I will say I know that Ottawa's going to come out with the fire under their ass on Tuesday. Yeah. I would be shocked if a fight didn't happen in the first 5 minutes.
Honestly, I don't even care if there's a fight. But the Sens, you are going to have to weather the early storm. Yeah. There is no way a Brady Tkachuk-led team he is going to drag that team by himself if he has to.
By the ears. I would expect every one of them.
He will be the one with cracking the whip to make sure everyone is getting in on the forecheck, because in the third period, what led to the Grigg goal? It was a relentless forecheck and relentlessly getting to the net. That's going to be the formula. We've talked on this show at length about the Leafs' struggles with zone exits.
Yep.
They're way too reliant on the stretch pass, and Stolarz has problems with rebounds. The Leafs are going to have to deal with that. Ottawa, if they fail to take advantage of it, then whatever, someone else will have to. But Sens, hold on, I need to go do some investigating, because Terry M just commented, Sens coach is accusing the Leafs players of diving. I'm gonna go investigate these allegations.
Oh God. Okay. And then while we do that, why don't we move over into the second period? If you are new here, or maybe you are a frequent flyer here at Game Over Toronto, thank you for being here, first of all. And it would go a really long way if you could just hit like, if you could hit subscribe, if you could tell some of your friends all about the show. We're still going to be live after every single Leafs game to finish off the season, no matter how many games it goes into the third round. Or maybe we go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. I will say, I feel pretty good about the Leafs' chances in the series after watching this game. I'm not going to lie, I was expecting, and maybe this is just, maybe I was overconfident in how the Sens were going to come out. I thought that they were going to come out with just a teensy bit more gusto.
They will. Don't worry. It's game 1.
Yeah.
I will say, look, everything went wrong for the Sens tonight.
Yep.
That's a totally fair thing to say. A lot of things went right for the Leafs. Obviously, part of that is the Leafs playing well, the Sens not playing well, but this is not going to be indicative of how, or it shouldn't be indicative of how the series is going to go. Now, Travis Green, head coach of the Ottawa Senators, after the game.
Oh, God.
I thought there were a couple of calls that they did a good job selling. That's bulletin board material right there. Another thing, I don't know what the analytical numbers say, but I'm sure we were ahead 5-on-5. The analytical numbers had the Sens with 1.84 expected goals at 5-on-5, the Leafs with 1.37. So yes, they were ahead. Very good. Not by much, especially considering the Leafs were winning for a majority of that game. So I talked to some people offline. I thought Travis Green should have come up and just taken the bullet and criticized the refs because as we know, we've gone to the Paul Murray school of dealing with the media and the refs.
Yep.
If you do a good job, the whistles will go away for the rest of the series. So, the one thing the refs hate though is being told that they got called, like that players were selling, they were diving. So, if the refs feel the Leafs were diving, the whistles are gone. But there's also a chance that it's going to backfire on Green as well. So I'm very curious to see, because Travis Green was on the Leafs during the old Battle of Ontario series, like in the early 2000s. Going to be very interesting to see how the coaching matchup goes in this game. But point Berube so far.
I mean, Travis Green is going to say whatever he can to try and get his team a tactical advantage. The problem is that Travis Green also has Timothy Stützle on his team, who is famous for the 20-meter high dive. A little bit. Yep. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
Hey, the call that Stützle drew in this game, legitimate penalty, we should mention that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Stützle was pretty good tonight. I was kind of impressed. He had some good moments. He wasn't
he was
crazy,
not bad.
But
he was more visible than Brady Tkachuk.
He was hitting. I will say, Leaf fans, we gotta take it easy with these Brady sucks chants.
It's a bit early.
Take a breath, boys.
It's a bit easy.
Yeah, come on.
It's a bit early. If we're up 3-0 in the series, go ham. It's game one, my guy. Yeah. Like I felt the same way if they started saying like Olay at the end. I would have been like, shut your fucking mouth. Like, please.
They did the wave. You could do the wave. That's fine. But
in the last minute,
with the chance. Yeah, you're up 6-2. You won. Cool. You could do the wave, but sure. Easy there.
Yeah. Definitely not the ideal. So let's talk about what went well.
Let's do it.
Down in the chat, if you want to put some of the ideas of what you think went well, better maybe than you expected. I know that Morgan Riley had some defensive lapses tonight. What did we think in general about how the defense played and how well the team did play defense together? Because I think, all in all, except for a couple hiccups, they did a pretty good job of actually just keeping everything to the outside as well as they did. And I do think that Anthony Stolarz, to start the game, looked very shaky. But I do think that by essentially like the halfway period, he was pretty set in there.
Yeah, so two things. First, we let's turn over to the second period, shall we? And while we do that, just a reminder for everyone to like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto if you enjoyed that Game 1 win. You kind of teed me up perfectly, because my first thing was going to be the success of the McCabe-Tanev pairing against the Senators' top line. They played like that. That's the matchup, right? You talk about line matching. Oh, you want to get Matthews against Stützle. You want to get him away from Pinto. And that's true. But the defensive matchups are also just as important. And the Leafs' number one matchup is they want to get the McCabe-Tanev pairing. That's their shutdown pair against the Senators' Stützle, Tkachuk, and Giroux line.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job tonight. McCabe hasn't missed a beat. He was physically engaged. He did a great job handling Brady Tkachuk, had a few nice board battles won. And Tanev, super steady in this game. There was one hiccup early, and not even necessarily hiccup, just one lapse I noticed from that pair early, where both McCabe and Tanev really aggressively chased the puck, and suddenly Brady Tkachuk was alone in front of the net. Luckily, that was the one time there was no rebound, so it works out. But really impressed with that pair. Carlo, with the puck on his stick, was a little sketchy, but love his physicality, love his size. Did you catch Drake Batherson tried to hit Carlo and he bounced right off of him? It was a ton of fun. I'll ask you, because I obviously I kind of talked already about Morgan Riley. What did you think of 44's performance in this game at both ends of the rink?
I think that if he hadn't scored, he probably would have been more of a conversation in the intermissions and in the post game. Because there were a number of defensive plays that did not happen that should have, that led to opportunities because of said defensive lapses. The further we go into the series, the more that those moments are going to matter, and the bigger negative impact they could have. So I do think that the goal kind of saved him from being a part of that conversation. one of the other really good things that I do really like, and we sort of mentioned it already, is the fact that the Leafs power play was able to capitalize more than once and early and fast. Now, that is not to say that I have a belief that they are not going to rely on the double drop back pass, and I'm sure that it's coming. It's coming, Zach. And if you think that it won't, I know. Do you remember at the beginning of the season? That is my shtick about how much I hate that entry. But if
taxes
and the double drop back pass, but for the Leafs tonight to play a style that in years past other teams have utilized against them, in that they're taking advantage and they're not necessarily waiting to just get set up, that is going to be the difference maker here. And for all of their power play goals to have been scored in the first 10 seconds of the power play is like, you can't ask for anything better than that. Like, the one power play tonight was not good. I think it was like one of the ones later it was the Kachuk penalty. They didn't particularly play overly well in that. In the last power play that they got, the Clevin high stick penalty, really Greg crashes down into the Leafs zone and actually takes out Anthony Stolarz for a moment. And despite the fact that he was not having a super good game, that was a little bit scarier than I was comfortable with.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So it's funny because it's funny to criticize the power play when they scored 3 goals. First of all, I have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure the Leafs in this game, at the very least, matched and possibly scored more goals than they have in their past 2 series combined against Florida and Boston. I know they had at least 1 against Florida. They only had 1 against Boston. They have 3 tonight. Very good start. But as you mentioned, the zone entries driving us insane all season. If you've been tuning into the show regularly, I know, Lauren, you've been championing that effort to
been banging that drum for many seasons.
And look, that's the difference between when the Leafs power play looks good and bad. When they win the faceoff, they look wicked. The Sens diamond penalty kill formation was getting eaten alive.
Eviscerated.
In
it was
this
eviscerated.
Game. Destroyed.
Yeah.
But when the Leafs didn't win the faceoff, the Sens got a clear. It was a challenge for the Leafs to set up in the offensive zone, and that's for 2 reasons. One, the drop back pass, but the second that we talked about again after game 82, the playoff preview, is the half wall pass to either Tavares or Matthew Nyes. There was at least 2 instances where the pass would go to the half wall and that player lost the puck. There was one where Nyes tried to pass it back and Claude Giroux was almost like he just stood there waiting for Nyes to drop it back to him because he knew it was coming. And there was another instance where Nyes just got tied up on the wall and he couldn't get the puck free, and then everyone had to kind of go to it and flock to it. Didn't work out. So there was a couple good entries where I think Marner had one where he didn't drop it back. He just went and took it to the zone. I think Matthews had one. Nylander had one that he lost, actually, trying to challenge the middle of the ice. But zone entries is going to be... I'm confident in the Leafs' ability to generate chances with their setup against the Sens penalty kill.
Yeah.
I am also equally as concerned about the zone entries.
Okay, so then since we're already at 35 minutes, let's use that to springboard over into the third period.
Is there anything else you want to mention that was super positive that we want to talk about?
No,
we haven't already.
No, I don't think so. Just because we already sort of talked about the fact that the big guys did show up in the game. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll give the penalty kill a little bit of flowers too. They weren't active, but I thought they did a decent job.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of concern going into the playoffs because we just know that the penalty kill to finish off the season was a little bit sputtering, to put it delicately. But I do think that part of that was that they knew that they were already in the playoffs. Yes, they were trying to win the Atlantic, but I think it was a smart decision to not be like, okay, block everything you physically can with your entire body, no matter where it is, because I think that they were saving that to some degree for this time of year. So let's move over into the third period. Before we do move on, please make sure you go check out some of the links down below. There is the Game Over Ottawa show that's happening. right now, actually, because we're not actually doing the head-to-heads in the playoffs, we are keeping the stream separate. If you want to go check out their stream, it would be a great thing. Even if you hit like because they're losing, that would be wonderful. Please don't go in the chats and troll. They will not like that, and you will not be allowed to do that. Make sure when you're down there, though, is that you go check out all of the other Game Over networks for Winnipeg and Edmonton, and of course the Habs as well. Who, I mean, it's a good time to be Canadian right now. 6 teams in the playoffs. It's nice to feel some camaraderie again. And make sure when you do that, make sure you hit like and subscribe while you're down in the detail box as well. And all of our contact information is down there. You can follow Zach and I on all of the socials, and all those links are down below. So let's move over into the third period, and let's talk about the things that we didn't like in the game tonight. What are your biggest takeaways of what your main concern is? What do the Leafs need to fix going into Game 2 on Tuesday?
You were talking about death to the drop back on the power play.
Yep.
I am here to say death to the stretch pass.
Hey, that stretch pass got Mitch Marner a goal tonight, my friend.
But that's not the kind. So I should differentiate. Death to the stretch passes from the defenseman, because, and what I mean by that is far too often this season and in this game and in this era of Leafs hockey, when the defensemen get the puck and they have control, the Leafs forwards are gone. They are in the neutral zone. They are ready for offense. They are ready for a stretch pass, and that's what they're waiting for. It is far too easy to pick off, and it's forcing, when there's a good forecheck, far too often the Leafs defenders, even the ones who can pass the puck, have to go off the glass and out, leading to a turnover in the neutral zone, and then it's dumped right back in. We saw that. The best example was the most recent game against Florida, where Florida just rinse, repeat, recycle, just dump in, and then force the Leafs off the glass and out, off the glass and out, off the glass and out. Failed stretch pass, deflected stretch pass, right? So I want to see the forwards stay in the zone a little bit longer, controlled exits with possession. That's still my number one concern for this Leafs team in the playoffs, is their ability to take defensive zone retrievals and convert it into clean possession exits.
Yeah.
Just exits with possession.
Yeah. And that's a valid concern, right? And there was a couple of plays tonight where it looked like the Leafs were prioritizing hitting the body than actually going for the puck in any way, shape, or form. And for the most part, that's fine, right? It's the start of the series. You want to make your presence feel known and let the other team feel uncomfortable with the puck. But it did lead to opportunities where there was a lot of puck watching. There was a lot more puck watching in the game tonight than I was comfortable with. Too. Yeah, right? You had players abandoning their actual defensive assignments to try and go hunt the puck down. And, it's a good thing they did that in Game 1, because I don't think that flies in Game 5 or 4 or in the next round. Or 2, yeah. Like, we know that the Sens are going to come out flying in Game 2. Someone in the chat earlier was being a little bit spicy and said the Leafs are the only team in the playoffs to have all 7 games at home. I know that the Sens fandom is they have done all that they can to encourage people and ask people that if they are going to sell their playoff tickets, to not sell them to Leaf fans. They want to try and keep it as red and black in the bottom bowl as possible.
Yeah, I think I saw they were offering discounted, but like if you buy in bulk, if you're a season ticket holder, like you can buy in bulk, like get more tickets, and they'll sell them at a discount. So they're doing everything, but tickets like on the resale market are more expensive in Ottawa than in Toronto.
Really? Do you have that up right now? Because I didn't know that. I didn't bother looking.
I could pull up the exact. I think it was by like a $50 difference. Like it was average a little bit more to go to Ottawa than it would be to just go to the. So for the Leaf fans that are like, oh, we'll just make the drive or take the trip out to Ottawa and go to that game, that's not gonna be cheaper. And also the tickets are like, I think the game's already sold out in Ottawa. In Toronto, there were tickets on sale this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's going to happen, right? And it was, that's one thing that we did talk about in the beginning of the show tonight was just how good the vibes were in Scotiabank Arena. I imagine that tomorrow, because the Leafs won tonight, not tomorrow, Tuesday, because the Leafs won tonight, it is going to be absolutely bumping in Scotiabank Arena.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be good. The other thing that I do think needs to be talked about is the fact that, yes, Anthony Stolarz did win tonight, but he did have a couple of egregiously tough rebounds.
Yep. This is the weakness. This is the and look,
he had for a little while. He was really good in this season. but it's sort of come back.
He still is. Again, this is not to take away from how good Anthony Stolarz was. Again, he had some great saves in this game to make up for the bad rebounds.
Sure.
But we talked about this. What did we say on this show? If the difference between Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. Woll, he can't see shots from the point. Stolarz gives up juicy rebounds. The difference? The defense can help with the rebounds. So Stolarz is still the guy. This is not in any way, shape, or form to say Stolarz is being challenged or his seat is getting warm. It's just to say we know that this is a weakness. This has been a known quantity, and the Leafs know this too. It is equally on the defense to battle harder in front of the net because the Sens are number 1 in the league at scoring in and around the net.
Yeah.
You have to clear those rebounds, and Stolarz does have to not be quite as chaotic in that area.
Yeah. And I would imagine that, it's first game jitters, right? Like, he hasn't played a game 1 series opener before. Like, I don't blame the guy for being a bit shaky.
Exactly.
And as the game went on, I think he did play a lot better. He was really good positionally,
Like Luke says in the chat, Stolarz gives up rebounds, he gave up 2 goals. If you're allowing 2 goals a game, I would hope that you're winning most of them. I guess we didn't even mention, this is the first time the Leafs have scored at least 4 goals in a playoff game since Game 4 against Tampa, 15 playoff games ago. You should be able to score 3 per game. So, if Stolarz gives up 2, is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So right
Famous
before
last words.
Yeah, well, and we say that, but yeah, it was 4-1 and then it ended 6-2.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do we have anything else we want to talk about in terms of what they need to improve on? Chat, did we miss anything?
Yeah, if you guys, this could be part of the, you could turn it over to if you guys have any criticisms of the Leafs or things that they need to improve on. I already talked about the refs weren't great in this game, but I was in favor of the Leafs, so I don't want to complain too much. I don't know. Like, I think this was a pretty good game from the Leafs. They have some things to clean up, but overall, pretty solid. About as solid of a game 1 as Leaf fans could have hoped for.
Yeah, it was nice to see them come out so strong, to lay the body that early, to be that strong on the puck. It was really nice to see them score a bunch of goals and not really put up with Ottawa's crap. There was a lot of scrums, especially to finish the game. David in the chat, I predict the Sens will make life hard for the Leafs in game 2. Although whether that means the outcome of that game changes is still TBD. Absolutely, I agree. The Leafs had their lapses, but overall did a good job. Stolarz is to the Leafs that what I'm sure the Oilers hope Stu Skinner or Cal Pickard will be for them in the Oilers-Kings playoff series.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't an Oilers show, but I like, or what Darcy Kemper is to the Kings. Music for Al, the Leafs did a lot by not getting goaded into retaliatory penalties from what Ottawa was doing. That is a massive point. The Leafs looked like the more experienced team, which they are, and they should, but it's really funny that to look at the Leafs as the team with all the veteran experience, because they only play 7 playoff games a year, but the Sens are new here, so that actually does make a world of difference.
Yeah, and it, I think the difference will be if the Leafs can continue to not be goaded into that, right? If they start taking a bunch of silly penalties, it's going to be rough. One thing you touched on, but should be mentioned again: Leafs win, absolutely, man. Like, I'm so jazzed. Let's actually move over into the overtime period. Make sure you hit make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you tell all of your Leaf loving buddies to come over and check out Game Over, because we are going to be back on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, Dominic, our favorite third host, is going to be back as well. It'll be so nice to have both you boys on the channel. It'll be a really good time, and let's hope that we're talking about wins all the way up till then. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I would hope so. I told Dominic if he comes back and the Leafs start playing bad, I might have to fire
Yeah, we have
him,
to go. We have to go. Yeah, we have to send him back to Japan.
It should be noted for anyone who's out of town scoreboard watching, the Vegas Golden Knights just opened the scoring against the Minnesota Wild on a beautiful shot by Tomas Hertl. Sorry, short side top shelf tuck off of a steal against Brock Faber. So for anyone that's curious how the other playoff games are going, there you go. Yeah, what do we got?
Just 1 second. Just checking the chat here. Riley made mistakes but scored a goal. Yeah, Stolarz gave up rebounds but only let in 2. McCabe, Tanev, Carlo, and Benoit can clear the crease, kick it right, and Stolarz is good. The Leafs have ice armor from playoff burns. Maybe that would be nice. It would be so nice. It's so early in the series. I feel so much more confident after the game tonight than I was expecting to. And maybe that it just is the fact that Ottawa did play kind of an immature game. They just didn't seem prepared for the Leafs to be that physical. They seemed like they were just sort of behind a step all game. I do think that is going to be very different in Game 2, and it's going to be really different in Game 3 when it is in the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa. I think the Leafs going to Ottawa is going to be more jarring than they expected to be.
Yeah. I really need the Leafs to win Game 2. The Leafs have never led a series 2-0 in the Matthews era. At both times they won Game 1, they got smacked in Game 2. The Tampa game, the score was somewhat close. It finished 5-3, but it was 5-1 with 8 minutes left in the third. They got smacked. The Game 2 against Boston, I think the score ended 5-1, and Kadri got suspended in that game. So, it's just, you got to keep this momentum going. It's good to start on the right foot. Now you have to carry that forward into Game 2. You have to put the Senators on their heels because if they could steal home ice, they're going to put a lot of doubt in the Leafs' minds.
Yeah.
Just even tying the series, just to seed it out. So you can't let that happen. Put them on their heels.
Yep.
Make them play desperate hockey. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, it's definitely, and tonight's game, the Leafs go up early. The Sens get within 1, but then the Leafs score again, and then they score again. And even though the Sens score again, the Leafs don't take their foot off the gas, and they really continue to just put the Sens in a chokehold. They did not at any point, even as the game ticked down, it did not like the Sens were going to have this massive pushback and we're going to fight to the death. They went out with a not a screaming Superman punch. You know what I mean? I really was expecting, as the game finished.
Not a Benoit Superman from
yes,
the sky
exactly.
punch.
Maybe not to that degree because you don't want to get suspended, but I'm surprised that Ottawa didn't try and do more to, scruff it up even harder than they did.
But they did at the end. The Leafs they stood
but that
up
was
to
in the
them,
last 5 seconds,
and
essentially. I mean, the last 47 seconds,
but they did some things here and there. The Leafs just weren't getting into it. And then when big things happened, the Leafs matched it. The Leafs are very much going to match the physicality. They aren't going to get into all this slashing each other, cross-checking each other. When the Leafs are prompted to get involved with the shenanigans between the whistles, they are not going to back down. They are going to match the energy the Senators bring. That's what this series needs to be about. Whatever energy the Sens bring, you take it further. If they want to start some rough stuff after the whistle, okay, then you're dropping the gloves. That has to be the attitude, is you match everything and you take it further. The Leafs are and should be the tougher team in this series.
Yeah.
And
they looked
I don't think they have a single defender they don't have a single defender under 6 feet. And I'm pretty sure they have one that's under 200 pounds.
Yeah.
They have got to, all this talk about Brady Tkachuk. Look at the Senators' defense. Who's matching the physicality of Matthew Knies? I love Jake Sanderson. I love Artem Zub. I love Thomas Chabot. I love Nick Jensen. Nick Jensen's maybe
Can't
the
stop
only
a train,
one
bro.
And you saw that on the power play goal.
Yep.
They just couldn't do anything about Knies in front. So that is going to be the key.
Yeah.
You just have to be the tougher team, but also, this was a point of emphasis that we actually didn't talk about. The Leafs emphasized being disciplined.
Yes.
They said they watched all the other playoff games that have happened so far, and it reinforced the notion of being disciplined.
Yep.
They were the more disciplined team.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see if they can continue that trend moving further into the series. Benoit's Luke Venables in the chat. Benoit's punches my phone wallpaper. I love that for you. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how everything wraps up on Tuesday evening.
Yep.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about before we finish up here?
So this isn't a Leafs comment, but Terry M asking quickly, is anyone going to Jets post-game shows? Someone will be. I know we missed game one. We talked about it on Friday, just too short of a turnaround. We're figuring something out because we do want to have Jets post game shows.
Yep.
So if you are interested in that, be on the lookout for that as well. And aside from that, again, like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto, and make sure to go check out all of the Game Over channels for all of the playoff games. Montreal's on tomorrow. Edmonton's on tomorrow. Make sure you tune into those guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the time, whether you're listening or whether you're watching, whether it's night of or the day after. It's so good to have you here. It's so good to be back on Game Over for the playoffs. Luke Venables, Matthew, nice truculence over chuculence. I agree with that. I would not trade those players for all the money in the world. So let's wrap it up there. My name is Lauren. You've been watching Game Over Toronto with a big Leafs win 6-2 to start off the Battle of Ontario playoff series. You can find me on Bluesky at Lauren of the Six. Zach, where can everybody find you, buddy?
You can find me Bluesky, Twitter, and YouTube at ZachPayne41. And make sure to, again, go check out Game Over as well. Go give them some love, because
Absolutely.
even though we are enemies right now, they do a great job on their shows as well.
Yeah, we do still love them. I think they're actually live right now, so even if you just pop over there and just give them a, hey, great game, look forward to seeing you on game 2. I know that they would be happy to see you there, just like we've been happy to have you. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure you tell all your friends that the Leafs are up 1-0 against Ottawa. Game 2 Tuesday night. We will see you after that. Have a great night, everybody. Happy Easter. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, and we will see you Tuesday evening.